You're going to waste February. I know you are, because February is the graveyard of New Year's resolutions. It's where all your big plans from January 1st go to die. You made it through January barely, but now the excitement is gone. The motivation has faded, and you're about to slip right back into the same patterns that kept you stuck last year. But here's what nobody tells you. February is actually the most important month of the entire year. Not January. February. Because January is easy. Everyone's hyped in January. But February? February is where winners are made. It's where you separate yourself from the 92% of people who quit their goals before Valentine's Day. So, if you can master February, if you can really lock in this month, you won't just save your year, you'll completely transform it. I'm going to show you exactly how to do that, but first you need to understand why you're failing right now. And it's not because you're lazy. It's not because you lack discipline. It's because you're trying to change everything at once, and your brain is rejecting it like a bad organ transplant. See, most people think that transformation requires this massive, dramatic overhaul of their entire life. They think they need to wake up at 5 a.m., hit the gym, meal prep, work 12 hours, read for an hour, journal, meditate, and somehow still have time for friends and family. That's not transformation. That's a recipe for burnout by February 10th. Real transformation. It happens in the gaps, the tiny spaces between your current life and your dream life, and February is where you learn to live in those gaps. Here's principle number 1. Stop trying to build a new life. Start building new defaults. Your life right now is just a collection of defaults. Default wake-up time, default breakfast, default way you spend your lunch break, default evening routine. These defaults run on autopilot, which is why you can go through entire weeks and not remember what you actually did. Your brain loves defaults because they require zero energy. But here's the thing. Your current defaults were designed by your past self, the version of you that didn't know what you know now, the version that had different priorities, different goals, different standards. So why are you still running their programming? Let me give you an example. 3 years ago, my default response to stress was scrolling social media. Something hard would happen, and within seconds, my thumb would be flicking through Instagram. I didn't decide to do it. It just happened. That was my default. Now I tried to change this the normal way. I deleted the apps. I set screen time limits. I put my phone in another room. And you know what happened? I'd find myself opening my laptop to check social media instead. Or I'd reinstall the app within a day. Because I was fighting the default instead of replacing it. So here's what I did instead. Every time I felt that urge to scroll, I did 10 push-ups. That's it. Not 50. Not 100. Just 10. Was it a perfect solution? No. Did it make me feel ridiculous sometimes? Absolutely. But here's what happened. Within 2 weeks, my default started to shift. Stress would hit. And before I could reach for my phone, my body would drop to the floor. I wasn't trying to become a fitness person. Or I was just hijacking an existing neural pathway and redirecting it. 6 months later, I was doing 200 push-ups a day without thinking about it. Not because I was disciplined, because I had changed my default. So here's what you do this February. Pick one default that's killing you, just one. Not 5. Not your entire morning routine. One default. Maybe it's hitting snooze. Maybe it's eating lunch at your desk. Maybe it's saying yes to plans you don't actually want to do. Now, here's the key. Don't try to delete the default. Replace it with something so small it feels almost stupid. If you hit snooze, your new default is sitting up and taking 3 deep breaths before lying back down. That's it. You're not getting out of bed yet. You're just interrupting the pattern. If you eat lunch at your desk, your new default is standing up and eating the first 5 bites somewhere else. You can go back to your desk after. You're not trying to revolutionize your life. You're trying to create a new neural pathway that your brain can actually accept. Because here's what nobody tells you. Behavior change isn't about willpower. It's about reducing friction. And the way you reduce friction is by making the change so small that your brain doesn't even register it as a threat. Principle number 2, track your energy, not your time. You've been lied to about productivity. You think the problem is that you don't have enough time, so you wake up earlier, you cut out breaks, you optimize every minute of your day, and then you wonder why you feel like garbage and can't seem to make real progress on anything that matters. Here's the truth. You have enough time. What you don't have is enough energy in the right places. I learned this the hard way. I used to plan my days like Tetris. Every block filled, every minute accounted for. And on paper, it looked perfect. But in reality, I'd get to my most important task of the day, the thing that would actually move my life forward, and I'd have nothing left. I'd been spending energy all day on emails, meetings, small decisions, pointless conversations. By the time I got to the work that mattered, I was running on fumes. So I started tracking my energy instead of my time. I noticed that I had about 3 hours of deep creative energy per day. 3 hours where my brain was actually sharp enough to do difficult, important work. The rest of the day, I could handle shallow work, emails, admin, calls. But those 3 hours, those were sacred, and I was wasting them on garbage. Now here's what I did. I protected those 3 hours like my life depended on it. Because it did. No meetings, no emails, no Slack. Just me and the most important thing I needed to do that day. Everything else got scheduled around those 3 hours. And suddenly, I was getting more done in 3 hours than I used to get done in 12. Not because I was working harder, because I was working when I actually had the fuel to do it. So here's your February challenge. For the next week, track when you feel most energized during the day. Not when you're busy, when you're actually sharp, focused, clear-headed. For most people, it's in the morning. For some people, it's late at night. It doesn't matter when it is. What matters is that you identify it and then you guard it like a dragon guards gold. Those hours are the only hours that actually matter. Everything else is just maintenance. And once you realize this, once you start protecting your peak energy for your peak work, you'll do more in February than most people do in 6 months. Because you're not just working hard, you're working when your brain is actually capable of doing something that matters. Principle number 3, build your life around proof, not promises. Here's why most people quit in February. They made a promise to themselves in January, a big, exciting promise. I'm going to lose 30 pounds. I'm going to build a business. I'm going to completely change my life. And for a few weeks, they ride the high of that promise. But then February hits. The excitement fades. Our progress slows down. And suddenly that promise feels heavy. It feels like pressure. It feels like one more thing they're going to fail at. So they quit. Not because they're weak, because they're exhausted from carrying a promise they haven't proven to themselves yet. I used to do this every single year. I'd promise myself that this year would be different. This year I'd be consistent. This year I'd follow through. And every single year I'd quit by mid-February because I didn't believe my own promises anymore. I had too much evidence that I was a quitter. Too many failed attempts. Too many broken commitments to myself. My brain had learned not to trust me. So here's what changed everything for me. I stopped making promises and I started collecting proof. Small, undeniable proof that I was the kind of person who did what they said they would do. I didn't promise to work out every day. I promised to do 1 push-up every day for 7 days, that's it. 1 push-up. Could I skip it? Sure. But the goal wasn't the push-up. The goal was proving to myself that I could make a commitment and keep it. 7 days later, I had proof. Not a promise, proof. Evidence that I was capable of following through. And that evidence changed everything. Because now when I made a bigger commitment, my brain didn't reject it. It had proof that I was the kind of person who keeps commitments. Here's what you need to do this February. Stop making big promises. Start collecting small proof. Pick something so small you can't fail. Read 1 page of a book every day. Drink 1 glass of water when you wake up. Send 1 message to someone you care about. It doesn't matter what it is. What matters is that you do it every single day for the entire month of February. No exceptions. Not because the action itself is going to change your life, because the proof is going to change your identity. By March 1st, you'll have 28 days of evidence that you are someone who does what they say they're going to do. And that evidence will give you the confidence to take on bigger challenges. Not because you promised you would, because you've already proven you can. Principle number 4, design your environment for your lowest moment, not your highest. Here's a mistake you're making right now. You're setting up your life based on how motivated you feel today. You're making plans, setting goals, organizing your space. And you're doing it all while you're excited, energized, and ready to conquer the world. But that's not when you need help. You need help at 8 p.m. on a random Tuesday when you're exhausted, stressed, and one bad day away from giving up. That's when your environment matters. Not now, then. I learned this after failing for years to eat healthy. I'd meal prep on Sundays. I'd stock my fridge with vegetables and lean protein. I'd throw out all the junk food. And for a few days, it would work. But then I'd have a rough day at work. I'd come home exhausted, and the last thing I wanted to do was cook chicken and broccoli. So I'd order pizza, or I'd drive to get fast food. Because in that moment, the friction of eating healthy was too high, and the friction of eating garbage was way too low. So I redesigned my environment for that version of me. The tired, stressed, don't want to think version. I didn't rely on motivation. I removed friction. I started buying pre-cooked rotisserie chicken, pre-cut vegetables, meals that took 90 seconds to heat up. Was it as good as fresh, home-cooked food? No, but it was infinitely better than pizza at 9 p.m. And here's the key. It removed the decision. When I was tired, I didn't have to choose between healthy and easy. Healthy became easy. Your environment should be designed for your weakest self, not your strongest. Because your strongest self doesn't need help. Your strongest self will do the right thing no matter what. But your weakest self? That's who quits in February. That's who needs the safety net. So here's what you do. Think about the moment when you're most likely to give up. What does that moment look like? What time of day is it? What emotional state are you in? What's the friction that makes it easier to quit than to keep going? Now remove that friction. Make it easier to do the right thing than the wrong thing. If you want to read more but you're too tired at night, put the book on your pillow in the morning so you see it before bed. If you want to go to the gym but you talk yourself out of it, sleep in your workout clothes. If you want to eat better but you're too lazy to cook, have healthy food that requires zero effort. You're not trying to become a different person. You're trying to remove the barriers that stop you from being the person you already want to be. Principle number 5. Redefine what success looks like this month. Here's the real reason you quit in February. You're measuring success wrong. You think success means hitting every goal, doing everything perfectly, never missing a day. And the moment you slip up, the moment you miss one workout or eat one bad meal, or skip one day of your routine, you think you've failed. So you quit. Because if you're not perfect, what's the point? But here's what you need to understand. Perfection is not the goal. Momentum is the goal. And momentum doesn't require perfection. It requires consistency. It requires showing up even when it's messy, even when it's imperfect, even when you only give 60% instead of 100%. I used to think that if I missed one day of working out, the whole week was ruined. So I'd skip one day, feel like garbage about it, and then skip the rest of the week because I'd already failed. But that's insane. Missing one day is not failure. And quitting after missing one day is failure. So I changed the rule. Success was no longer doing it perfectly. Success was not quitting. If I worked out 6 days instead of 7, that was a win. If I only did 10 minutes instead of an hour, that was a win because I showed up. I didn't quit, and over time, those imperfect days added up to massive results. Not because I was perfect, because I refused to let one bad day turn into a bad month. So here's your new definition of success for February. Don't quit. That's it. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to hit every goal. You just have to keep showing up, even if it's ugly. Even if it's inconsistent, even if some days you only do 10% of what you planned. Because February isn't about doing everything right. It's about not giving up when things go wrong. And if you can make it through February without quitting, you'll enter March with something most people will never have: momentum. Real, undeniable momentum that will carry you through the rest of the year. So here's your action plan. This is what you're going to do starting right now. Pick one default to replace this month. Just one. Make it so small it feels ridiculous. Track your energy for 1 week and identify your peak 3 hours. Protect those hours with your life. Collect proof every single day that you're someone who keeps commitments, no exceptions. Design your environment for your weakest moment, not your strongest. Redefine success as not quitting, not being perfect. That's it. 5 things. No massive overhaul, no dramatic transformation. And just 5 intentional shifts that will compound into results you can't even imagine right now. Because here's the truth. Most people will quit this month. They'll tell themselves they'll start again in March, or in the summer, or next year. But you're not most people. You're someone who understands that February is where the real work happens. And if you can lock in this month, if you can do these 5 things consistently, you won't just have a good year. You'll have the best year of your life.